4. Car A is about to make a right-hand turn from a driveway when car B appears in that same lane. Who should yield, car A or car B? The answer is car A should yield. Cars entering a roadway should always yield to cars already on the road. Give yourself 1 point for each part you correctly answered. The next few questions deal with a good defense. Question 6, worth 4 points. You're driving on a 2-lane road. Passing is allowed in either direction. An oncoming car pulls out to pass, and it's coming head-on in your lane. What should you do? A, turn quickly into the left lane. B, slow down and move to the right. C, stay in your lane and maintain your speed. D, stop immediately in your lane. The correct answer is B, slow down and move to the right. Slowing down helps you maintain control, and moving to the right gets you out of the way. Do these at the same time, and be prepared to keep moving to the right. Even drive off the road to avoid a collision. If you answered correctly, give yourself 4 points. Question 7, also worth 4 points. You're driving a car approaching a blind intersection where there are no stop signs or signals. Suddenly, a car appears in the cross street. How do you avoid this potential collision? A, turn sharply to the right. B, sound your horn as you approach the intersection. C, brake and then keep your foot over the brake pedal as you approach the intersection. D, there is nothing you can do to avoid this collision. The correct answer is C, brake and then keep your foot over the brake pedal. If you answered correctly, give yourself 4 points. When approaching an uncontrolled intersection, that is, an intersection without any stop signs or traffic lights, you have to use extreme caution. You should always brake to slow down and then keep your foot over the brake pedal. Keeping your foot over the pedal allows you to react much faster. For example, if you're traveling at 30 miles per hour, keeping your foot over the brake pedal allows you to stop 25 to 30 feet sooner, avoiding this potential collision. Another point to think about is that out of every 100 drivers, more than half stand a good chance of having an accident involving injuries. With that in mind, let's look at question 8, again worth 4 points. You're driving down a 2-lane road. Suddenly, the car in front of you jams on its brakes. What can you do to avoid this potential disaster? A, look further down the road. B, leave more distance between your car and the car in front of you. C, step on your brake harder. D, watch the brake lights of the car ahead. The correct answer is B, leave enough room between you and the car ahead. If you answered correctly, give yourself 4 points. You should always be alert to possible trouble ahead and recognize the signs immediately. Knowing what to do is not enough if you don't have time to react. A good rule to remember here is the 2-second rule. Choose a fixed object, such as a sign, tree, or overpass. Start counting 2 seconds off as the car in front of you passes this object. 1001, 1002. If you pass this object before reaching 2 seconds, you're following too closely and will not have enough time to react. Now let's look at question 9. We've all been in this situation before. It's night. An oncoming car is blinding you with its high beams. You've already signaled with your lights, but the other car has not responded. What you should do now is turn on your high beams to counter the glare and help you see the roadway. Is that true or false? The correct answer is false. Do not turn on your high beams. In fact, in most states, it's illegal to turn on your high beams within 500 feet of an oncoming car. While it's common practice to flash your high beams, alerting the other driver, it's very dangerous to turn them on. Actually, by turning your high beams on, you now blind the other driver, doubling the danger. So if you answered false, you were correct. Give yourself another 4 points. Now let's move on to another true or false question. Question 10. You're driving on a multi-lane highway when all of a sudden a car moving up on you seems to be out of control. weaving side to side. Your best course of action is to maintain speed and stay in your lane. True or false? The correct answer is false. The proper action would be, if it's safe, to move over to another lane. Even pull off the road and stop. You want to get as far away from this erratic behavior as possible. If you answered false, give yourself 4 points. You must always yield the right of way to fire, ambulance, police, and other emergency vehicles when they are responding to emergencies. So with that in mind, let's look at question 11. What should you do if you hear a siren nearby, but cannot see where the emergency vehicle is? A. Reduce your speed and stay in your lane. B. Speed up and keep a watchful eye for flashing lights. C. Pull over and stop until you are sure it is not approaching you. D. Move to the right, opening up a passing lane in case it's behind you. The correct answer is C. If you hear a siren or air horn nearby but do not know exactly where the emergency vehicle is, you should pull over and stop until you are sure it is not approaching you. You must also pull over and stop for an emergency vehicle even if it's coming toward you in the opposite lane of a two-way road. An emergency vehicle using lights and a siren or air horn may be unpredictable. The driver may legally exceed the speed limit, pass red lights and stop or yield signs, go the wrong way on one-way streets, and turn in directions not normally allowed. Although emergency vehicle drivers are required to exercise due care, be very cautious when an emergency vehicle approaches. If you answered C, you are correct, so give yourself 4 more points. Now let's look at some questions that deal with the driving environment. Question 12. When do you think the road is slickest during a rainfall? A. Anytime it is raining. B. A half hour after the rain stops. C. Just after the rain starts. Or D. Just before the rain ends. Give yourself 4 points if you answered C. Just after the rain starts. The road becomes slickest in the first few minutes of rainfall because oil on the roadway, which is lighter than water, floats up, creating a thin coating on the surface and a slippery condition. Depending on the length or strength of the rainfall, this oil is eventually washed away. You know the saying, oil and water don't mix? Well, they do make the perfect environment for a skid. Question 13. If your car goes into a skid, what should you do? A. Take your foot off the accelerator. B. Keep your foot off the brake. C. Steer in the direction of the skid. D. All of the above. The correct answer is D. All of the above. For example, the instant you lose control, take your foot off the accelerator. Turn in the direction of the skid and keep your foot off the brakes so they will not lock up. Once you gain control, accelerate gently, bringing the car back into a completely normal situation. Sometimes you think you're doing nothing wrong on the road, but you could be breaking the law. For instance, question 14. Under what conditions could you get a ticket for driving the posted limit? A. During bad weather conditions. B. In heavy traffic. C. In a residential zone where children are playing in the street. Or D. All of the above. The correct answer is D. All of the above. Because of what's known as the basic speed law, all of the conditions listed above, plus many others, are regulated by this law. This law states that if conditions make it unsafe to drive at or close to the speed limits, you may not. So use good common sense and give yourself 4 points if you got the correct answer, D. Now let's look at question 15. When driving in fog, you should always use your high beam lights. True or false? The correct answer is false. When driving in fog, you should always use your low beams. Most people think the more light you have, the better you can see. However, fog has a lot of moisture in it, and the moisture reflects the light back at you, making it more difficult to see. If you chose false, give yourself another 4 points. Question 16. You're driving on a downhill slope approaching a stop sign. When you step on the brakes, they fail. What is the first thing you should do? A. Shift your car into a lower gear. B. Apply the emergency brake. C. Pump your brake pedal and try to build pressure. Or D, if possible, steer off the road to the right to a clear area. The correct answer is C. Pump your brake pedal to build up pressure. If your brakes fail, pump the brake pedal to try and build up pressure. That is the first course of action you should take, because there may still be enough pressure left. If that doesn't work, then shift into a lower gear so that the engine will help you stop. The parking brake is for the final part of the stop, so apply it slowly to keep the brakes from locking. If you had the correct answer, C, give yourself another 4 points. Now here is question number 17. You're driving 45 miles per hour on a roadway when suddenly your right wheels drop off the edge of the pavement. What should you do? A. Slow gradually before turning back onto the pavement. B. Turn back onto the pavement at once. C. Drive onto the shoulder and stop. D. Steer straight ahead and speed up to gain maximum control of your vehicle. The correct answer is A. Slow gradually before turning back onto the pavement. Keep a firm grip on the steering wheel. When it's safe and your speed is under control, turn the wheel quickly about a quarter turn to the left. Give yourself 4 points if you answered correctly. Question number 18. While driving down the street, you take your foot off the accelerator to brake and find your accelerator is stuck. After tapping the gas pedal and trying to free it, now pay attention, here's the twist. Which of the following should you never do? A. Turn off your ignition. B. Immediately put your car in neutral and brake. C. Reach down and try to pull the gas pedal up with your hand. D. None of the above. The correct answer is C. Never reach down and try to pull the gas pedal up with your hand. This is a very dangerous action because no matter how quickly you think it could be done, your vision of the roadway is blocked. If tapping the accelerator with your foot doesn't work, shift your car into neutral and apply the brakes. Drive off the road if possible, or as far to the right side as you can. Take care if you turn off the ignition that you don't turn the key so far that it locks your steering wheel. Give yourself another 4 points if you chose C. You must obey the posted speed limit. So with that in mind, let's look at question 19. For 4 points, what is the purpose of minimum speed limits? A. To allow space between moving vehicles. B. To keep traffic flowing smoothly. C. To get out of the way safely. D. All of the above. The correct answer is B. To keep traffic flowing smoothly. Some highways also have minimum speed limits. Driving slower than the minimum speed can interrupt the traffic flow and create a dangerous situation. Even if there is no minimum speed limit, those driving much slower than the posted limit can be as dangerous as those driving too fast. Be aware that some cities have speed limits lower than 55 miles per hour that may not be posted. For example, the speed limit is 30 miles per hour in New York City unless another limit is posted. Question 20. True or false? Can you stop to load or unload passengers at a no standing or no parking area? The answer is true. You may stop to load or unload passengers. The key words are stopping and passengers. What people generally understand as parking is legally divided into 3 categories: parking, standing, and stopping. A no parking sign means you may stop only temporarily to load or unload merchandise or passengers. A no standing sign means you may stop only temporarily to load or unload passengers. A no stopping sign means you may stop only in order to obey a traffic sign, signal, or officer, or to avoid conflicts with other vehicles. If you answered correctly, true, give yourself 4 points. Today, many states have mandatory seatbelt laws, which means that even before you put the key into the ignition, you have to buckle up. Here is question number 21. It's 4 parts, each worth 1 point. Part 1. Wearing safety belts gives you a greater chance of escaping a burning or submerged vehicle. True or false? For 1 point, the answer is true. A safety belt will increase your chances of being conscious and in position to either get out of the car or control it. Part 2. Safety belts reduce injuries only in collisions above 15 miles per hour. True or false? For 1 point, the answer is false. A driver's head can strike the windshield, steering wheel, or dashboard at speeds as low as 5 miles per hour. And now for Part 3 of Question 21. Safety belts are more effective on the highway than for local street driving. True or false? For an additional 1 point, the answer is false. 80% of accidents occur at speeds of 40 miles per hour or less. Here is the next generation of drivers. To make sure he gets his turn, pay attention to Part 4 of Question 21. Our next question concerns safety belts and children. The safest place for your baby is in an infant seat, in the back, facing backwards. True or false? The answer is true. If you had the right answer, give yourself another point. Most people think that the baby should be facing forward so they can see what's going on. Well, that is not the case. Place your baby's safety seat in the back seat facing backwards. Make sure it's properly anchored to the seat with a seat belt. That's for infants. Larger babies or toddlers weighing up to 40 pounds can be buckled into booster seats facing forward. This seat must be secured with a seat belt as well. Recent state laws require children up to the age of 16 to wear safety belts while riding in the rear seat of a moving vehicle. Make sure your child and you know how to use a safety belt properly. The lap belt should be tightly secured across the thighs and hips, never across the stomach. The shoulder strap should be comfortable, but snug, never so loose that it would just fall off the shoulder. And remember, many cars have automatic safety belts, but you still have to buckle the lap belt manually. Here's another true or false question for you, worth 4 points. Question 22. Adjusting all the mirrors on your car properly eliminates all the blind spots. True or false? The answer is false, because even with all the mirrors adjusted properly, you still have blind spots. Let's take a look. The rearview mirror allows you to see directly behind you. The side mirrors allow you to see the sides of the car, but only for a limited distance. The shaded areas in this diagram show you what you can't see from inside your car. Here's an important tip for you. When passing or overtaking another car, if you can't see that car's rearview mirror, that means they can't see you either, and you're in their blind spot. To make sure you haven't missed a vehicle behind you, turn your head for a last-second check before changing lanes. Here's question number 23. It's a two-part question, each part worth 2 points, and they're both going to be true or false. The average mixed drink has a stronger effect on you than a glass of wine or a mug of beer. True or false? The answer is false. A 1.5-ounce glass of whiskey, a 5-ounce glass of wine, or 12 ounces of beer all have the same effect on you. So if you answered false, give yourself 2 points. Part 2 of